Joaquin Niemann wins for the 5th time on the Live Golf Tour. And I don't know how many starts they've had. Is it 9 at this point? Probably, maybe 10. So he's won half the time virtually.
He has, and this is again a stat. Sean Lowry is our guy who sends me live stats every week.
I love that you get live stats every week from.
It's so good.
The Smylie Show, only on SportsGrid.
It's becoming just harder in general to do business from a money standpoint in general, let alone the competition. So yeah, Betfred closing up shop will be gone by tomorrow. We'll see if any sportsbook fills this void. It'll mean that there's a license up for grabs in Pennsylvania, which is one of the biggest states for sports betting and is home to a lot of other operators. At this point, we're getting to a time when no one's rushing into the market.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
It's edge rushers. That's where it is right now. And I think Myles Garrett is in a class of his own. I think TJ Watt's right there. I think Micah Parsons is right there. Certainly, those guys are very, very good. Myles Garrett is in a class of his own. He just absolutely is. When the advanced stats about the double team rate, his quarterback pressure rate, all of that, he just stands a notch. I don't want to say a big gap, but he stands a notch ahead of those guys.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid. This is the moment every fan waits for. The countdown's over. The road to kickoff has begun.
Play is here to stay. I'm not going to name names, Kevin.
From win totals to player props, from division races to MVP debates, we've got eyes on every camp and data feeding 24/7, breaking down every angle across the league. Every pick, every edge, every line that matters. SportsGrid. Your road to kickoff starts now.
Dude, that's Smylie Kaufman for 61. Wow.
I'm Smylie Kaufman, and this is The Smylie Show.
Welcome back to the Smylie Show. He is Smylie Kaufman. I'm Charlie Hume, and it is we're ramping back up, Smylie. This is the Wyndham Championship. We got a big tournament to recap, not only because of the FedEx Cup playoff implications, but because we got a first-time winner on tour that was a long, long time coming. We got to talk about Cameron Young's big week. We got to talk about some Ryder Cup implications, but the first place I kind of want to start, Smylie, is I tied up some loose ends from our last episode. I sat down, watched Happy Gilmore 2.
Oh, you did?
I sure did.
Are you gonna ever watch it again?
Probably not. So I was in Henderson with my buddy Gil for his member guest this week, and this was like our Thursday night post practice round, like amp up. We're gonna do a team building exercise, watch Happy Gilmore 2. Didn't work as well as we might have hoped, but so we watched the entire movie, and I got to that. I'm like, man, can't wait to see what they come up with for Happy Gilmore 3.
Oh, wow. See, I'm not ready for that quite yet. Was it good? Yes, but Happy Gilmore 3, just as Grown Ups 2 and then 3 just happened to be not so great. They were not good movies, but filled with cameos.
That was meant to be laden with sarcasm. I don't think there's enough plot in there. I don't think there was enough plot in there for Happy Gilmore 2, but it was exactly as you described it, and I borrowed that and said that to numerous people on the range the next day, which was a bunch of TikTok skits stitched together with cameos. But
and bits that ran too long, that were funny for one time during the movie, and then at the end you're like, okay, I get it. I laughed already.
Yeah, and I think you saw a lot of those on social media snipped out. Like we all saw the Rory and Bryson moment, the Scotty moment. But in watching it back, like the one that I laughed at, initially when they first did it, but also stuck with me was the whole Xander and Ricky deal. That's what she said. I thought that was really funny. So it was fun.
Ricky's the ultimate wingman.
Yes. Yeah. He nailed that punchline. It was lighthearted to watch, but I just had to kind of circle back on that. And
that was talking to Happy Gilmore.
That was, and that has been talking Happy Gilmore too. Let's get to some real green grass golf. Cam Young, his first career PGA Tour win at the Wyndham Championship at Sedgefield here in North Carolina. And by the way, huge miss on my part. We did our one and done picks. Our race is really tightening up, heating up there. But I said, hey, I'm looking at some home cooking guys. I'm looking at some North Carolina guys. I know Cam Young's a New York guy, but how do I overlook the Wake Forest Demon Deacon? I mean, that should have been pretty obvious.
It's so funny that I was sitting there on a Delta flight coming home from a trip to DC earlier in the week, and I was watching the PGA Tour's like hour segment, kind of previewing the Wyndham Championship, and there was the Billy and Aaron Rye bit where Billy's like cheering Aaron Rye to the finish, and they're kind of reliving that whole thing. And then I caught the corner of my eye on the putt that Rye had on 18 to win, and I see Cameron Young. I was like, man, I don't remember Cameron Young being a part of the storyline. And then what I then recall was that I believe that they didn't do a repairing situation after the Saturday round. They just kept going.
Yes, yes. Because they got a ton of rain. They got a deluge of rain.
That's right. It was like a lake down there at the bottom of the hill at the 6th or 7th hole.
Yes, yeah.
So I was thinking to myself, for one and dones, I'm like, well, shoot, Cam Young's been playing pretty good. He was obviously in the final group. And you know what I didn't do? Mentioned Cam Young.
Swing and a miss for both of us. Yeah, but obviously, you know, I think the stat was, I heard on the broadcast today, 7 career runner-up finishes prior to today's win. You know, and it was almost a double year for us. We had Tommy Fleetwood so close to the Travelers. That one's still kind of on the docket for best player to have not won a PGA Tour event. But Cam, I just misses the cut of the Open Championship. But this is a guy that was showing a lot of form. You know, tied for 7th at the Truist, tied for 4th at the RBC Canadian Open, tied for 4th at the U.S. Open. You know, he's had it in flashes. We kind of missed with some of our picks, but what are you seeing in his game right now, or is it a mental shift where this finally is the breakthrough week?
Oh gosh, that is such a loaded question. And the reason I say that is this week was just incredible. I think you got to highlight what he did this week first and foremost. I mean, to go in 125 shots through the first 2 rounds, 63-62, which by the way, that's 2 years in a row at the Wyndham Championship where he has shot 62 in his Friday round. So that's a pretty good nifty little stat there.
That
from
helps.
Cam Young. And
that usually helps.
he didn't do anything on the weekend last year, but you know, just going out and shooting 65, I believe, in his Saturday round was really impressive. But the week, what caught my eye particularly this week was how good he was on the par threes. And if you've ever played Sedgefield before, I would say that very challenging par threes. You know, these Donald Ross greens are from the sources that I talked to down on the ground this week. The greens were fast, very fast. And you throw in being above the hole, and especially like the 12th hole, that long par 3, and 16th hole where we saw plenty of 3 putts on that hole, and over the course of history on that hole, then a ton of 3 putts. But that was the story. I mean, how well Cam Young was playing the par 3s, hardly making very many bogeys at all. He put the ball in the fairway consistently. Wedge game was on point, and the putter, my goodness, the putter was unbelievably good. He gained 10 strokes putting this week, which when we think about Cam Young, it's like, all right, he drives it good. You know, iron game's pretty good. And he's really struggled with the putter. You know, that's kind of what you think about. Like, that's what's holding him back. That's why he's not winning. Well, dude, go look at his stats putting this year. He's 10th in strokes gained putting. So you're wondering, you're like, all right. So Cam Young's 10th in putting. Why isn't he having like even better year, right? Like that's the first thing that went to my brain. And because you think, well, of course the driving's got to be good, right? Well, that's actually not true. This is his worst driving year of his career. You go back to his rookie year, you go back to his sophomore year, 2022, 2023. This guy was leading in the driving distance category his rookie and his second year. And also the strokes gained off the tee. He was like second his rookie year and like in the top 10 his second year. But it's kind of started to trickle backwards a little bit to where driving distance, he's just around 29th the last couple years. So he's not quite as elite of driving distance. Still 29 is really long,
right?
But it's not, you know, the upper echelon that he had his rookie year. And maybe that's technology. Maybe that's more young guys coming out on the tour. There's a lot of ways that you can kind of look at that, but This year he's around, hold on, I think he was like around 80th in strokes gained off the tee.
So I'm looking at his data golf page right now, and it has to be kind of to your point. And I'd love to look at the absolute values of like what his average yardage was a couple years ago and what it is now, and see how different those are. Because that furthers the point you're making about other guys.
307 yards was his driving distance in his rookie year, in which he was second. So when you think about that, 307 or 308, well, that's not even, that's not even close to where it is now, where I think Pockgeter's around like 337 or something like that.
Pockgeter's currently leading the tour at 327 yards.
327
average driving distance. And
but
yeah,
it's still very long.
It's still very long. And I'm looking now, I'm going down the list, and 307 is now 45th. So the direction he's averaging 311 this year. So it's crazy. He added 4 yards, but he slid further down the list. The furthest right side of this pane of all these driving stats is driving accuracy, and you can see it's a clear, large negative in a lot of events this year. So that has to be the issue.
I had to chart this thing out because I was that confused trying to figure out why Cameron Young isn't as good as he should be, because we've seen all the flashes. Like at some point of his career, he's been elite at something. Like he's been elite at putting this year. He's been an elite iron player. He's been an elite driver of the golf ball. So check out this chart I had to get.
We got a chart.
Look at this chart that I had to come up with. And let me walk you through it just so we kind of can talk through
We
exactly.
need like a picture. I need you to take a picture of this so Jackson can B-roll this on the back end.
Okay,
I love a
you got it.
hand-drawn SK chart.
Had to do it.
'If I have to think long and hard about whether or not you're a Hall of Famer, you're not a Hall of Famer. I don't need to argue stats. I don't need to argue whether or not you are great. If Ichiro Suzuki is not a Hall of Famer, we don't need to have a baseball Hall of Fame. Like, just pack it up and shut it down, because that guy was as good of a hitter as we've ever seen. And he was unbelievable from the first time he stepped onto the field for the Mariners until the end.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
It's edge rushers. That's where it is right now. And I think Myles Garrett is in a class of his own. I think TJ Watt's right there. I think Micah Parsons is right there. Certainly, those guys are very, very good. Myles Garrett is in a class of his own. He just absolutely is. When the advanced stats about the double team rate, his quarterback pressure rate, all of that, he just stands a notch. I don't want to say a big gap, but he stands a notch ahead of those guys.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
It was already pretty solid up top, but you had the bottom that's that much better with Ryan O'Hearn and Lariano. Like, we now have a well-rounded lineup on top of a great pitching staff. Michael King is expected to start making his rehab starts. So you have him plus Pivetta plus Dylan Cease. You Darvish is back. You have the frontline pitching, the depth in the lineup, and now a great bullpen. You have it all.
I really like it. Like, I do. Like, sometimes I get caught up in the Padres because of what they can be.
Pro Baseball Today, only on SportsGrid. This is the moment every fan waits for. The countdown's over. The road to kickoff has begun.
Play is here to stay. I'm not going to name names, Kevin.
From win totals to player props, from division races to MVP debates, we've got eyes on every camp and data feeding 24/7, breaking down every angle across the league. Every pick, every edge, every line that matters. SportsGrid. Your road to kickoff starts now.
So very good putting this year. He was average in his rookie year. So the year in which he comes onto the scene, it is contending a bunch, comes second in the Open Championship. He was an average putter that year. He was a very bad putter the last couple of years. He was 145th and 154th. So when we think about, all right, it's crazy is that every year he's good, average, or bad at something. That's the wild thing about this. His first year on tour, he was an elite wedge player. He was seventh inside of 100 yards. And in the last 2 years, so 2023 and 2024, super average wedge player, right around 125th. And then this year, 172nd inside of 100 yards. And you saw a little bit of this. You saw a little bit of this come out on Sunday, where his wedge game, all of a sudden you're like, what are these shots he's hitting? He's like chunking his wedges, was struggling hitting it pin high. Granted, he has a 9-shot lead, so let's not judge the guy. But maybe you're starting to wonder, all right, maybe this is some of the things that he's been kind of dealing with this year. All right, let's move on to approach play, Charlie. So 2023, an elite iron player from 125 to 200 yards, basically. So you can kind of take that 125 to 150, 150, 175, 175 to 200. He's basically in the top 10 in every single one of those stats. And that's basically his second year on tour. So he goes from being a very good driver of the ball his rookie year, and then a very good approach player his second year, where even in 2022, like he was average. Even last year, his iron game was pretty solid. But this year, his iron game has been so bad.
I find that so interesting because it's like it seems like we're dropping off in multiple categories, but really just the putter holding the entire thing together. I mean, does that? I mean,
well,
we're supposedly congratulating this guy on his first win.
Almost. It's so easy sometimes to say, well, should Cam Young be on the Ryder Cup team?
Right.
And I'm here to tell you that his iron play has been really, really tough this year. His first 14 events, he lost to the field average. In 11 of those events, he lost strokes. So when we think about Cameron Young, we're like, okay, so he's not ironing it good. He's like 156 in that 175 to 200 category. So when I start to think about Bethpage Black, I probably could see a lot of shots from that 175 to 200 range. But then I look at the Wyndham Championship this week. What did he do really well this week? Par 3 play was so good. And guess how many shots are in that 175 to 200 range? Oh, like a ton. So there's obviously some good that came from this week. Some things that he had been struggling with, his iron play. Obviously got to tick up. It wasn't perfect. He was around like 20th, I'd say, in his iron play this week. But clearly was, if you watch just like the eyeball test, like how many times he hit iron shots that you're just like, man, I want to replicate that rhythm, that shot shape. And it seems like he can't miss a shot. So, and then real quick, the driving, elite, he's pretty much been an elite driver. And then I'd say this year he's been an average driver of the golf ball for his standard, I would say.
You mentioned Ryder Cup. I think this is a perfect segue here to talk about, both Cam's spot or where he currently stands in the Ryder Cup picture, then maybe a few other players that were in the field this week or were not in the field this week. We're going to do that with the help of our friends at Ahead. This is the Ryder Cup Look Ahead. Ahead is a strategic partner for enterprise clients, helping them navigate the path toward digital transformation, much like an expert caddy, reading the course ahead and providing the winning combination of technology and execution. You can learn more at ahead.com. So heading into this week, Smylie, Cam was 19th in the Ryder Cup standings. And there are actually quotes around this where obviously there is, I don't want to say there's a mental block, but there is a mental burden that comes associated with you're one of the best players on tour that's not won an event yet. And, when asked about that, his response was effectively, I'm not too worried about this. I'm worried about playing good enough to make it on that team. And maybe that focus on a different thing frees you up to play, better golf. When you're talking about the Ryder Cup picture and the variability in his game over the past few years, a guy that drives it a long way and then someone else can, you're playing in the foursomes format, someone else can hit the second shot and then he's putting it really good. That guy could be a weapon. But if you're playing the ball through the hole and you're kind of inconsistent, I don't know. Where do you stand on if he's a fit for this team?
Well, I really think the top 7 guys that are locks. I mean, I got it right here. I mean, I got Scotty, Xander, JJ, Russell, Bryson, Harrison, JT. Those guys are all locks to me. And then from there, I mean, I think what Keegan and the rest of his vice captains are going to do is they're going to start working on pairings. Who's going to make this team is going to be based off of how we're going to match you up in pairings. So I sure Cam Young is going to be a very attractive name with all that he brings to the table with his driving distance. obviously for playing the New York area, I think has to mean something, just growing up there on probably similar grasses. Heck, he won the New York State Open there when he was 17 years old. So there's a lot to like with Cam Young, especially you want guys that are putting well. So bringing surely I want to see how he putts the next couple of weeks. I know these are one's being Bermuda greens, one's going to be bent greens, but still you want to see if he has like a bad week putting leading up to into it. But I just the iron play, that is going to be a thing that I'm going to watch over the next 2 weeks. And I even more, I have to give you more in-depth stats on him this year with his iron play. He is from outside of 100 yards, he is 172nd. That's a big number.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That's a big number. And then inside of 100 yards, he's 158th. And just more advanced stats that might translate a little bit more to Bethpage, it being a longer golf course. From 200 to 225, you would think Cam Young, that would be kind of something that you would think would be a strength of his. 155th this year, 175 to 200, he's 156th, and 150 to 175, he's 126. So all of these are below the PGA Tour average if we're using 125 as our benchmark, which used to be the benchmark. So I for one, want to see how his iron game is going to be the next 2 weeks. But if he's able to go and keep up this form over the next couple weeks and into the Tour Championship, which right now he's inside the top 30, around 20th, you have to feel like Cam Young is going to be a player that you probably feel like you can't leave off the team if he continues to play well over the next 3 weeks. This week was obviously huge because now he's firmly in the conversation, where before, and you would have looked at all of these things I just told you, you would have said, I think we could probably find more attractive candidates. But when you put it all together 1 week, now you're playing good at the right time of the year.
They're in a decent spot. They actually had a really great quarter this past quarter, and they're crediting what they're calling a smarter approach to sports betting and player quality, not just being lucky and being on the winning side of more bets. Of course, the past 2 quarters have been really bad for sportsbooks, which just got hammered in the NFL playoffs, and then that continued into March Madness. But it looks like Q2 is shaping up to be much better for them.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
You want to hear a crazy stat, guys, with this Pittsburgh Pirate team? I brought this up yesterday. Out of 106 games, they have been involved in 27 shutouts. 13-4, 14 against. Over 1 out of every 4 Pittsburgh Pirate games ends in a shutout. How crazy is that?
Total is 8 tonight.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
They're already pretty solid up top, but you had the bottom that's that much better with Ryan O'Hearn and Lariano. Like, we now have a well-rounded lineup on top of a great pitching staff. Michael King is expected to start making his rehab starts. So you have him plus Pavetta plus Dylan Cease. You Darvish is back. You have the frontline pitching, the depth of the lineup, and now a great bullpen. You have it all.
I really like it. Like I do. Like sometimes I get caught up in the Padres because of what they can be.
Pro Baseball Today, only on SportsGrid.
Just more and more smoke, leading to the fire that is Keegan Bradley being on this team as a player.
Yeah, I think we're all expecting it at this point. And, Keegan, he knows he can't play poorly in the playoffs. Like, he knows he needs to keep momentum going. And if he continues to play well, he's going to be on this team.
The Smylie Show, only on SportsGrid.
Just looked at to confirm the green grassing that is at Bethpage. It's a mix of Poe and ryegrass, but it's like that northeastern Poe, which is different from the West Coast Poe. And we saw that at Oakmont, and that's, I think to date, I'd have to check the exact numbers, but just looking at Bargrass, that's his best putting performance of the entire year in terms of strokes gained, without seeing this week's numbers yet come through on Data Golf. And then the Truist, RBC Canadian Open, Travelers, all kind of northern climates. He's putted extremely well. Those are 4 of his best putting performances throughout the year. So you feel like that portion of it should translate very easily to Bethpage Black.
And the fact that these greens with Wyndham were really very fast this week, they're very well known on the PGA Tour for having some of the best greens and putting services for how quick they can get those greens. The expectation is for the greens at Bethpage to be very fast. There's not a ton of slope on these greens, but they're going to double cut those things, double roll them to get those greens as fast as they possibly can. And a player like Cam Young just obviously had a good week on some quick greens, and you have to wonder if that's something that he feels comfortable on.
So, and other notables of play, like Ben Griffin finished tied for 11th. He's a guy that kind of dipped a little bit in form, but now, playing good golf as we're heading into the playoffs. And of course, that selection period. Do you want to kind of talk about how you're drawing up Friday pairings and maybe even where the teams stand for you right now? Because you listed the first 7 on the points list: 8 Colin Morikawa, 9 Ben Griffin, 10 Keegan Bradley, 11 Matt McNeely, 12 Brian Harman, and then from there, Andrew Novak, Patrick Cantlay, Sam Burns, Wyndham Clark, a lot of Chris Gotterup, Cam Young, a lot of names that people are interested in taking on that list.
So I have 2 locks to make the Ryder Cup, and JJ Spaun and Russell Henley. Both of those players are going to be rookies on this Ryder Cup team. And then you look at, all right, who are the potential rookies that are a possible pick? Ben Griffin's a possible pick. Maverick McNeely, Andrew Novak, Chris Gotterup, Cameron Young. Those are all players who have not played in a Ryder Cup. So you can't imagine that Keegan Bradley's going to pick from that entire list. You have to imagine that he's going to be including some veterans along with a couple rookies to be these picks. So from that group, Ben Griffin to me is definitely I would say the most attractive game right now, especially for the fact that Keegan Bradley got paired with Ben Griffin the first 2 days. Keegan Bradley misses a cut along with Andrew Novak, who is also in that group. You have to mention too that Keegan has been paired with him at the PGA Championship as well. And both times Andrew Novak has missed the cut. So in 2 appearances that Andrew's teed it up with Keegan, hasn't been able to make the weekend. I have to imagine that has to mean something in Keegan's eyes. I think Ben going out and having a really nice week, he must have kind of tailed off at the end a little bit, because he was inside the top 5. Really, I think he was T3 at some point today when I looked at the board. But
he was 67, 67, 69, 65 on Sunday. Finishes at 12 under. Yeah.
Well, I just feel that I feel like Ben's game, just his uptick in speed is a huge added bonus. He makes a lot of birdies. I think he's going to be a really good player in the 4 ball. I could see Ben being a great player who can go out, play aggressive, and make a bunch of birdies. So I really like Ben to be on this team at this current moment. And it's interesting because if Keegan's on this team, which I fully expect that he should be on this team, he's definitely earned his way on this team from my perspective. I wonder how he's going to set it up, because a lot of times when the Ryder Cup is over in Europe, the strength of the European side typically would be to go to put the foursomes off early. That would be a strength of theirs, is to play the 4 ball or in the afternoon. And so I would expect that would be what the United States leads off with. And I could see that Keegan would be playing in the 4 ball in the morning if he did play, and then go coach in the afternoon or captain in the afternoon with the foursomes going out. So I just look at everything and try to figure out, okay, who's has experience, who is potentially matched up with somebody. Because I think last year, the fact that Scotty found a partner in Russell Henley doesn't bode well for Sam Burns. It really feels like that's not to say that Sam can't make the team, but that was something that currently Patrick Cantley's tied to Xander because of the success they've had together.
That's exactly where I wanted to go next, because if you're talking about, if you're effectively, what you're telling me is we're going to take the top 10 on this points list right now. If you're going to throw in Colin Morikawa, Ben Griffin, and Keegan Bradley, so we only have 2 more spots left. to give. And you know, if Cam Young's now in the mix, you know, Maverick McNeely in the mix, some of those names. I mean, Patrick Cantlay, you would have thought would have been a lock for this team given the success of his partnership with Xander. But you know, I wonder how much of a lock he is right now. I mean, it feels like he just hadn't played good enough golf this year.
Can you handle the heat? If you don't mind the desert at the hottest, consider visiting Vegas in the summer, where the temperatures are high and the prices are low. Have fun! See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
I don't think anybody has ever finished as high in the FedEx Cup from the 126 to 150 category. Dude, you finished 12th from that category. That record is going to be in the PGA Tour Hall of Fame forever. Nobody's ever going to touch that from that category.
Yeah, and I mean, props to my team for kind of helping me frame that season.
The Smylie Show, only on SportsGrid.
Luka Doncic lands the cover of Men's Health magazine. Let me say that again. Luka Doncic lands the cover of Men's Health magazine. I mean, that's noteworthy because Luka Doncic was seemingly traded away from Dallas because the Mavericks weren't sure if he was ever going to get in shape enough to deliver on his full potential.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
I like Payton. I like Jeremy Payton. I think he's a nice player, but really, look at this offense. You're shocked that they win games 2-1. I mean, they're an under machine. Solid pitching, even though Hector Staff's on the injured list still. The bullpen's solid, and they can't hit a lick. They average what? It seems like they average like 3 runs a game, but somehow they run off 10 in a row. They're 10 games under, and then they're 20 games over 500. Like, how does this team do it? That's just in them, though.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
Yes and no. I personally think that Patrick Cantlay is going to end up on this team. He's 5-2-1 in the Ryder Cup. He's got a partner in Xander Schauffele. His iron game is too big of a strength. He's a plus distance guy. He's been so clutch over his course of his career in the Ryder Cup, President's Cup, made big putts. I just don't see how he doesn't make this team. The stats are really solid for the most part. Mm-hmm. He just hasn't, kind of broken through. Sure has it not been a banner season for him. It hasn't been a bad season by any means. Like I have more confidence. Like I have Patrick Cantlay above Colin Morikawa for me. If it came down to picking between those two right now, I'm taking Patrick over Morikawa because of his pairing. He pairs up
flux. Yeah.
Well, he pairs up with Xander Schauffele. He's got a plus record in the Ryder Cup. Morikawa, on the other hand, sure, he was dominant in back at Whistling Straits. He went 3-0-1 with Dustin Johnson as his partner, but Dustin Johnson is not going to be on this team. And the form that Morikawa has been in has been a little bit kind of all over the place. Like, you're changing caddies, changing putters, trying all these different things where you're taking your glove off or your long irons. There just seems to be a lot of change with Morikawa right now, to where if I had to, put guys ranked higher or lower on the list, I would probably put, Cantlay just above, because Morikawa didn't inspire too much confidence the last time he wasn't in form in Rome. He was, very off. Wasn't really a key asset like you would think Morikawa should be for the United States team, with how good he can be, the potential that he could play to with his precision iron play. You would think that he would be a perfect foursomes player.
Yeah, I mean, and the playoffs are going to be very telling. I mean, obviously, he's played great at East Lake, in recent years, and so if you have a nice stretch here, it shouldn't be hard for Keegan to make a pick and have anyone really protest that too vehemently. And would be interesting, yeah, like you're talking about with those the partnering with the best players on the team, you kind of feel like Hindley is bumping Burns right now. And if you take Cantlay to partner with Xander, that leaves you one spot that does feel like it goes to a rookie. And it feels like the guys that are trending the strongest right now would be Chris Gotterup and Cam Young.
Yeah, those would be the two, 100%.
And it's tough because we're having Chris Gotterup join the show later this week. Had a great conversation with him. We love his game, and Cam, just went out and won a tour event. Where do you think Keegan lands on that right now, or is it really the next 3 weeks you're going to play a huge role in defining that pick?
I think that Gotterup, Young, and Burns, right to me, I think those three guys, I'm going to be looking at them in a bucket to see kind of who plays really well over the next 3 weeks. I don't think either one of those three guys can play poorly. I think they all need to be, consistently inside the top, 15, top 20 every single one of these 3 weeks. You can't have a poor week. Got to make it to Eastlake because they all bring plus assets. You can find issues in all of their games. You really can. Burns has a little bit more experience on these teams. He's been on more teams. Cam Young has only been on one team, on just the President's Cup, and didn't play a ton of matches that week, or at least didn't feel that way. It wasn't a big part of the storyline. Chris Gotterup's never been on a team. So there's ways to pick apart all of these guys. And then outside of that, like I think some wild cards that could play their way into the conversation. I still feel like the stats will say that Jordan Spieth still has a chance to make this team, but he hasn't done what Chris Gotterup, Cam Young, Andrew Novak, maybe Ben Griffin, Sam Burr. I would say that he just hasn't had that boom moment to where it just feels like he's kind of made his stamp to where he feels like he should be a part of this team. But right now he just hasn't had that boom moment, if you will.
Yeah, and still looking at this on this Data Golf, this Ryder Cup projections we talked about the past few shows. This is not updated to reflect the Wyndham Championship, but Spieth is still higher on their prediction list to make the team than Ben Griffin, than Patrick Cantlay, than Chris Gotterup. I mean, a lot of those guys are in that mix. So it'll be time will tell, and there'll be a couple events where he'll have an opportunity to kind of make a stamp and move his way in there.
Another wild card. I wouldn't even call him wild card. I think Brian Harmon is a player too that
match play guy.
Well, just think about Memphis. That's going to be a good golf course for him. He should have a really good week. This coming week at St. Jude. So you expect him to play well. And let's say he plays well at the BMW. He is going to be a player that I think is going to fit somewhere in a foursomes pairing. It just feels like, Brian Harmon. We've had him on a Ryder Cup team before. He's got some experience. His partner's not there in Max Homa that he had in the last Ryder Cup that he had. So he'd have to find another partner. But I still am trying to figure out who's going to pair up with Bryson. That's the one to me that I really can't wrap my head around on who's going to kind of level out, because that energy that he's going to bring, somebody's going to have to be the mellow. Right now I have JJ or Harris. I have JJ or Harris written down for Bryson right now.
I think that's perfect because both those guys strike me as types that are going to be kind of amused by it, but won't kind of take them out of their even keel zone. Also worth noting that JJ and Bryson, both California kids. So you get a little, and it's like Central California, Southern California. So you fuse the vibes together and you get this Cali monster you throw out there. I'm starting to like that pairing.
I kind of think Harris and Bryson are going to play together. And the other one too, that you could see is if Harris and Harmon, two guys that obviously know each other really well, both with some experience. Harris hadn't played since 2021. Of course, we just kind of documented that whole journey with him on our last episode. If you hadn't listened to that episode with Harris, that was good. A very good one. But man, I also wonder too if Jordan doesn't make the team, who JT gets paired with. I have Keegan Bradley as a possibility. Those two guys play a bunch of golf together. Could see those two going out and definitely the 4-ball. But I also wonder who else would be a good match for JT. I'm not really sure. So definitely interesting.
Yeah, and if Morikawa can get his Morikawa or JT are guys that if I'm looking at this list and some of the potentials on the team, I feel like if Morikawa can get that ball striking approach game, closer to sharp than it has been in past few months, that'd be a great pairing for Cam Young or Chris Gotterup. Bomber out the tee and then hit it close and let those guys who are putting good make some putts. That could be a good combo.
Well, I think that the European side has such a good 4-ball setup to where it's like Luke Donald doesn't need to do anything, man. Like he's got guys that have played on plenty of teams, and he's able to split up, 4 just incredible players. So like John Rahm and Tyrrell Hatton are going to play together. That's pretty much going to be a given. You're going to see Sepp and Shane play together again. They played foursomes last Ryder Cup together, had some success. And then you'll see Victor and Ludwig. You'll see them 2 play together again. The Scandinavians, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The Scandi boys did a real number in Rome.
Remember, they won 8 and 7 in foursomes against.
Was it 9 and 7 against Koepka?
Maybe
Scheffler?
It was 9 and 7 against.
I think it was
Scheffler and Koepka. And then that last pairing, you have to imagine it'll be Rory and Tommy. So that is just such a strong foursomes pairing. And then I look over here at the Americans. I'm like, golly. If Patrick Cantlay they just need him to make the team because you got Scotty and Russell. If Xander's going out, you have to him and Pat have been so good in the foursomes. Bryson's going to have to play. Who's he going to play with? It's going to be JJ or Harris or somebody else. I don't know. And then JT is got a ton of foursomes experience as well. Could you pair him with somebody else like maybe Keegan or I don't know. That there's plenty of guys that you can kind of look to go to there, but maybe a Brian Harman. I'm not sure.
Yeah,
but
I had some depth questions on the European side from 8 on until Matt Fitzpatrick and Bobby Mack started playing great the past couple of months, and now it's really the last maybe 2 or 3 spots on the team. Both the Højgaard twins missed the FedEx Cup playoffs, so they won't be playing the next few weeks. But I think that I'll be curious to see if there is another speculative pick made, in the same fashion that Nikolai and to an extent Ludwig were for Rome. But I think McIntyre and Fitz playing good is okay, they're right back to the solidity they had for the last Ryder Cup.
100%.
Just more and more smoke, leading to the fire that is Keegan Bradley being on this team as a player.
Yeah, I think we're all expecting it at this point. And, Keegan, he knows he can't play poorly in the playoffs. He knows he needs to keep momentum going. And if he continues to play well, he's going to be on this team.
The Smylie Show, only on SportsGrid.
It was already pretty solid up top, but you had the bottom that's that much better with Ryan O'Hearn and Lariano. We now have a well-rounded lineup on top of a great pitching staff. Michael King is expected to start making his rehab starts. So you have him plus Pavetta plus Dylan Cease. Darvish is back. You have the frontline pitching, the depth of the lineup, and now a great bullpen. You have it all.
I really like it. I do. Sometimes I get caught up in the Padres because of what they can be.
Pro Baseball Today. Only on SportsGrid. The game is on. The stakes are high. But the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that ring. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
Just a little flyer, couple of
18.5 points live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. It's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid. This is the moment every fan waits for. The countdown's over. The road to kickoff has begun.
Play is here to stay.
I'm not going to name names, Kevin.
From win totals to player props, from division races to MVP debates, we've got eyes on every camp and data feeding 24/7, breaking down every angle across the league. Every pick, every edge, every line that matters. SportsGrid. Your road to kickoff starts now.
you're going to see a pretty similar team that they're just going to run back. Why, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Try to have the same locker room guys that are going to be confident coming into this week, or I should say not this week, end of September. But it's going to be a loaded lineup, and I think the United States has a lot of good options, but it's just trying to figure out how to get the exact team that's going to be perfect enough to potentially go and beat the Europeans. Because on paper, I like the Europeans now because it's so easy to get their lineups right. I think in the Ryder Cup, you're only sending out 4 pairings in the morning, 4 pairings in the afternoon. So what you're able to do is you're able to hide some guys. So if the 11 and the 12 man for the European team isn't that strong, well, they only have to they have to play singles. You might see them play 4 balls, but other than that, like, you're going to see they're going to ride their horses on this, and those guys are going to want to go out 36 holes as much as they can. And I think the United States team is going to have some guys step up because, you know, Scotty obviously expect him to play well, but you're going to have to see some players really step up from the United States side.
Just to kind of slide back to the Wyndham, we're of course going to continue talking Ryder Cup for, you know, the next 2 months really as we lead up to this thing. But I just big picture on the event itself, and you touched on it a little bit about just the challenge this course provides. Just the change to the top 70 in the playoffs. This event has just gotten so good, I feel like, in terms of drama. Not the longest course in the world, but there is no better time to play a Donald Ross course in North Carolina than the month of August, where it's going to be firm. The Bermuda rough's going to be way up. It's going to present a challenge there. Mm-hmm. The greens are going to be super fast and slopey. So you see things both positive and negative happening at the end. I think of Keith Mitchell, you know, makes bogey at 18 and missed the cut this week, you know, drama there. And then the same thing happens to Davis Thompson today, makes bogey at 18 when he's just inside the top 70.
Did you see that 3-putt?
Oh, it's just tough. And it's a and I don't say this to celebrate that, but more so just that there's stuff happening. Your course have the drama of a first-time winner. He ran away with it this week, but in most tour events, if that was the storyline, it's a snoozer. We're all just turning off the TV. We're doing something else. You and I are starting to record the podcast before it's over. But the way this event shakes out, it's almost like a 4th playoff event. And you heard him talk on the broadcast about players enjoying just this week and what the sponsor provides and the tournament organizer provides for them. I need to go down and see it. It's only an hour away from me, but it really feels like this is one of the ones outside of signature events and playoff events that you get really excited to tune in because there are just so many different intrigue points on the broadcast.
Yeah, it definitely is. And I would say that the only, I guess, hole I can kind of poke in this is that, you know, it would be nice if there was a finale to this top 70, right? So of course there is, in which they all make the playoffs, but, you know, Davis Thompson, for instance, can, you know, go out and play the fall event and end up 51st if he goes out and has a good fall. I'm not necessarily in love with the fall on how it continues to accumulate points. I wish there still was some form of wraparound season, whether it was for, you know, less points somehow, make it a way to where, you know, there's a finale to this. Because today that's the one thing I was missing was I'm sitting here watching, wondering, like, okay, like Joel Damon's just inside the top 100. If he finishes 95th, like he's projecting now, he's going to have his tour card next year. And then, of course, I got to call you. I'm like, wait, hold on. No, that's not right. RSM is the finale. So it just turns into such a long year for these guys. You know, you heard the interview with Matt Hubbard at the very end of his week where he shoots 63. He's like, I don't really even care if I make it to Memphis. I'm so tired. I just want to go home. And so these guys are like, you know what? I played well enough to be in a better position heading into the fall to where I can secure my card after the fall. I personally wish it was a finale at the Wyndham and then, you know, just be done after the Tour Championship. I think it's so silly that we still accumulate points for positioning for next year. You can make two sides of the argument because I personally would like to see the Korn Ferry Tour members have a way to come straight out to start playing in the fall, to start accumulating points, or even if there's no points, go play for whatever it is. I just feel that the fall to me isn't quite as exciting because it's just a positioning game. I don't think anybody really cares about the positioning other than the players. So if the fans don't really care about the positioning, why should we?
I completely agree with you on that point because, yes, as you mentioned, you called earlier and we were trying to kind of figure out because obviously the only real pivotal gain for inside 70 from like 51 to 70 is just the chance to make a huge play or win the event in Memphis the next week. And then, of course, you get your signature event status for the following year. But to your point, everyone that's 51 and beyond is still, calculating points for the next season. And there's the 51 to 60 next 10 category that applies to the first few signature events. And then, of course, this next year, instead of 125 cards, there will only be 100 cards. And what's going to happen to 101 through 125 is they're going to be in a priority category behind DP World Tour graduates, Korn Ferry Tour graduates, Q School, all those guys. But I wish there was a way to, if it's okay, the top 70 finishers at the Wyndham, you are guaranteed your tour card for the next season, even though they effectively are statistically, you're guaranteed your tour card. I almost wish you could lock those guys out of fall tournaments. Now, I know people push back on that because why would you bar a star player from coming to an event if it's going to draw fans? Or, as we're going to see probably in a couple of weeks or after the season, it's a tune-up for team competitions like the President's Cup and the Ryder Cup and things like that. But if the Korn Ferry Tour season were to end, this weekend, or even call it aligning with the FedEx Cup playoffs, maybe it's the week after the FedEx Cup playoffs and it's all over, and then those guys are playing in the fall version of the tour schedule, whatever you want to call that, mixed in with the guys who are 71 and beyond, then it's a real separate thing where we know exactly what they're competing for, and it's cards, it's number 71 through 100 to get their tour card for the next season.
Yeah, two thoughts I would have there on this. I agree that if maybe at the end of the Wyndham Championship, that if you finish and tied the top 70, the PGA Tour basically would say, okay, your card is secured for 2026 or for the following season. And just in case, if you don't want to play at all in the fall and you want to take it all off, take it off. If you don't care about being in the next 10 category for the signature events, don't worry about it. We'll see you at the Sony.
We all know a night out at the club in Vegas can get a little bit pricey, but I've got a tip that can save you a cover fee at some of the hottest nightclubs. All you have to do is sign up online for free with a credible guest list service. Then just show up before 10:30 and check right in. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
It's becoming just harder in general to do business from a money standpoint in general, let alone the competition. So yeah, Betfred closing up shop will be gone by tomorrow. We'll see if any sportsbook fills this void. It'll mean that there's a license up for grabs in Pennsylvania, which is one of the biggest states for sports betting and is home to a lot of other operators. At this point, we're getting to a time when no one's rushing into the market.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Luka Doncic lands the cover of Men's Health magazine. Let me say that again. Luka Doncic lands the cover of Men's Health magazine. I mean, that's noteworthy because Luka Doncic was seemingly traded away from Dallas because the Mavericks weren't sure if he was ever going to get in shape enough to deliver on his full potential.
Game time decisions only on
that we'll wrap the show with is one that we've discussed at times. It's been rumored and reported. It is now confirmed. Rory McIlroy will not be playing in the FedEx St. Jude, the first playoff event this week down in Memphis. And I can't really blame him. I think every time we talked about this, we completely understand why. I mean, last year, I believe he finished DFL or second to last, and he only slid one spot down in the FedEx Cup standings. So it really he will be at the Tour Championship. He could skip the BMW and still play the Tour Championship, although that might impact his standing a little bit more. But yeah,
it won't matter.
It won't matter. So I mean, I'm actually with the reformatting of the playoffs, and I know that they're staging the payouts more. They're rewarding the Comcast business deal more heavily, and so you can miss out on big paydays not playing at those places. But I'm kind of surprised more players didn't choose this option that are way up in the standings.
Shoot, the BMW is just a tune-up for him. just getting ready for the Tour Championship.
Yep.
That's all it is.
Yeah.
Which if we're gonna make the Tour Championship, all for one, I mean, it's going to be fun to see these guys really ramp up with no starting strokes and it's going to feel like, hey, here's your one shot. I like that all the players have to go in with the same mindset of it doesn't matter what you've done all year. You got to go out and bring it these 4 days. So it has that kind of major feel that we chase throughout the whole year. When I think about why is it so hard to win major championships? It's because they only happen 4 times a year, and you have to peak at the right time. And you got to remember how much money they're playing for, Charlie, and that Tour Championships will be remembered for how many you win. That is something that all these players respect and want to do. I don't know. I just feel that's something that all these guys strive to do at the beginning of every year.
But haven't you said here on the show a number of times, like, we need to stop talking about the money aspect of this whole thing? I mean, I totally get that it adds weight to the event, but I just – if the only thing you're selling me on in this format, because there aren't starting strokes now, is it's just another event that happens to have more money paid out for it. Now, I get the history of East Lake and just Atlanta as a golf hotbed, Bobby Jones, like all that stuff is super cool. And I personally enjoy the place for the same reasons I enjoyed Sedgefield this week. I love seeing Donald Ross courses in use. But I don't know. I mean, it still feels like an interim format. It's like we're doing this now because the players did not like the old one. So we'll do this and just make it as normal as it could be until we find out what the right format is. That's the way it feels to me.
Oh, I definitely agree. And I hope they get something to where it's more entertaining for the viewer, because that's what you and I have talked about a ton on this pod is how we want it to be more energetic, feel the crowd. We want it to be in places that feels like gets more fans, and it's not, in the middle of the summer in August in Atlanta is kind of a brutal spot because nobody really wants to be out there because it's that hot. But I still feel like the Tour Championship is going to stand up. I think the players going to be ready to go and try to win the thing. I really think it's players love to show up to East Lake to have a chance to win the Tour Championship. That's not going to change.
Oh, for sure. And I'm definitely not saying that. It's actually funny in reflecting on what we're talking about with the Wenham this week is that I guess I did like the old format, like the old format more than I thought I did, where it was, in the same fashion where you're seeing guys move, even, separate the context of the tournament, you're seeing a move on the larger FedEx Cup leaderboard, and small things, bogeys at 18 have this massive shift, and they know where they stand because they can see leaderboards, so they're aware of the implications. That is dramatic to me. I think the only kicker and the reason why they changed it, of course, is that the one person hoisting the trophy and the other one hosting the FedEx Cup trophy, like that does not make sense at all. And it's the finality of the Tour Championship that makes that unsustainable. So
I think the Tour always leans in on that they have history, right?
Yeah.
You got I can probably name 10 to 12 Tour champions, which I mean that's probably a lot of people can remember, like, oh, you remember the Bill Haas shot, you remember the Brandt Snedeker shot. You can